Get ready with me while I talk about things I wish I knew starting my first year at UBC. So I am a first year student at the University of British Columbia, and I am an arts major. I started UBC this fall, and I am from like a smaller high school. So I'm just gonna apply sunscreen first. UBC Vancouver is just like a huge university, and I knew that when I was applying, but it was just like I didn't understand how huge it was. So it's just like there's always stuff going on, and I wish I had like kind of prepared for that more. It's a little bit hard to prepare for as well, because like how would you go about doing that? Like researching clubs before I joined UBC would have been really helpful, because when I went to the club fair, it was very overwhelming for me. Well, Imagine Day. And I wasn't really able to join all of the organizations I wanted to, because there's so many and deadlines pass like so fast. So I would definitely recommend, if you're an incoming student, to kind of like, if you have an idea of what you want to do at UBC, what kind of clubs you want to join, definitely look into that before you start. It's also very easy to get lost, and I have a really bad sense of direction, so I struggled with that a lot my first 2 weeks. Like I got lost a lot around campus, and it was really embarrassing, especially because I kept running out of data, and I was really trying not to use my data because UBC Wi-Fi didn't work for me the first like month. So I had to keep asking people for directions, or just getting really lost, and it just like was not a very fun experience. So if you were bad at directions like me, just like keep that in mind. UBC, like now it makes sense to me. I can definitely find my way around. Sometimes I still have to use Google Maps for like places I've never been, but it does get easier. I wish I could tell my first year self, which is now my first term self, that. Something else is that, okay, so I'm from Squamish, which isn't that far from Vancouver. It's about a 2-hour drive, give or take. So I didn't think that I would be homesick. Like obviously I thought it would be a bit of an adjustment, but I didn't think that it would be as bad as it was for me. Like the first month, it wasn't that bad. It was just like a really hard adjustment, because my room at UBC, there was like a bit of confusion, and basically what me and my roommate thought we were getting was a double room, but we got a compact room. So we have bunk beds, and I am just like so scared of heights, and I am on the top bunk. So just that also added to it. And I also didn't really know a lot of people at UBC when I came here. Like I didn't come here with a big group of friends, and I am an introvert, so I'm not very good at putting myself out there, and had to kind of teach myself how to do that. What I would do my first like week or so is, for lunch and dinner, since I didn't know anyone, I would be going alone, right? And I would try and find some like a group that looked friendly, or like someone else sitting alone, and I'd like go sit with them, and I'd see like, I'd kind of read the vibe, and if like I sensed that it was a match, and I would like, not a match, but like if I sensed that they were open to it, I would start a conversation. And I actually made a lot of friends with that method, which like a good tip to have. UBC also, okay, the meal plan. Remember when I first started, I was really excited for all of the food. Like I was just like, oh, it's gonna be so much fun to go there, and we're gonna have so many options, I'm never gonna get bored. And I remember in my first month, everyone was like, oh, we're so bored of the cafeteria. And at that point, I still really liked it. I was like, oh, what do you mean? It's like, it's so convenient. But like around the end of first semester, I started to understand, because a lot of the food is on rotation, and it's just like annoying because I'm not a picky eater per se, but I'm not very adventurous with what I eat. So I often eat the same thing for lunch, breakfast, and dinner, which is just like a little annoying, and you get kind of sick of it after a while. But I also haven't been wanting to spend a lot of money to go out for food, because it's just like, oh, I'm already paying for it, so I might as well just enjoy the food that's there. So that's a warning to first years. That does happen. So what I did to kind of like, this is actually my mom's suggestion, because I was telling her like, I'm so sick of the cafeteria food, but I don't want to start like door dashing and like spending a bunch of money. And we have flex dollars as UBC students on our UBC card if you're under the meal plan, which means you have around, I think, $500 to spend at selected restaurants and places. So my mom basically told me, she was like, oh, why don't you just use those instead for a week and like take a break, like a little break from the cafeteria. And I did that, and it really helped. So if you go through that, I definitely recommend just taking a little break, because you don't want to get sick of it to the point that you can't walk in there, which is what I was going through. Also, something else is that university is hard. So I know that's probably like something that a lot of people have said and will continue to say, and they told me when I was entering my first year that, oh, like, you don't know how much homework you're gonna have. And I was like, oh, but I'm taking relatively, like, I didn't take easy classes first semester, but I took relatively easier classes. Like, I took a GPA booster, which is creative writing, and just like classes that I thought I was really strong in. But there is definitely like, the thing with university is that there's no one keeping you accountable. At least that's what I found in arts. So like, they're gonna assign a bunch of readings. My professors, at least mine, they wouldn't come up to me and ask me if I did the readings, but they are going to be on the midterms, they are going to be on the final exams, and they are going to be brought up in class, so you will not understand what's going on in class if you haven't done the readings. But also, like, you could fully not do the readings, in my experience. Like, if I hadn't done any readings, I would have been fine. Like, I remember I made this really big mistake in my first semester where there was this one class, and the professor, he wouldn't bring up the readings in class. And the readings are just really hard, so sometimes I would skip one or two if I just like really wasn't in the mood, or I would really skim them. And that really got me for the final exam, because it was an essay on all of the readings, so I had to go back and read them all, and I hadn't taken notes. So definitely do the readings when they're assigned, take notes, and review your class notes. And midterms, they come so soon. Like, I was not expecting that. Everyone told me when I was going into university that midterm season comes pretty early at UBC, but I thought that they meant like end of October, mid-October. Like, some of mine last semester, I had them end of September. So like the first month. And then my midterm, like literally 25 days after the first day of class, which I found insane, because it does not feel like a midterm. And reading break at UBC Vancouver is not a full week. It is only half a week. So that's like for the essays and stuff. At the end of each semester, the last 2 weeks are really, really brutal, because that's when all of your essays are due, all of your final exams are due, and also you are so burnt out and tired. So definitely do not leave reading your articles until those last 2 weeks. And also, like, for your essays, start early, because at least in my experience, they give you a lot of time, but pretty flat lipstick, but you actually need that time. So maybe like, you don't have to start the day out, but like the second day, definitely make sure that you have started your essays and your projects. Just like, make sure you're very committed and planned, because I don't know, it's just like, especially if you rely on your parents to remind you to do stuff, because obviously if you're dorming, they're not here. There's also like another thing that I found at UBC is that while there is support, you have to be the one who's actively seeking that out. So like, teachers are not going to come up to you, and like professors, I mean, will not be hand holding. I'm so used to saying teachers that I might have been saying that in the video, but professors will not hand hold. So they will not, like, if they notice that, maybe they will, like, it depends on how severe it is, but you have to go to their office hours. You have to email them if you need help. Like, there's no extensions unless it's something serious. Like, teachers at high school, they definitely do a lot more hand-holding and they're like, you really see how slack high school is when you enter university. Just like comparing the two, it's just like, it's insane, the difference between it, because like there's so much stuff that you can get away with in high school that will not cut it in university. Like, I remember in my high school, at least, like, I think I was more consistent with my work in high school than university, which is something else, is that I had a lot of burnout my first semester because my grade 12 year was just so much for me. Like, I was applying to a bunch of scholarships, I was applying to universities, doing my hard classes, blah, blah, like, I just kind of, like, I needed a break, which I'm really grateful that I had 4 classes. First semester, now I have 5. And I had, like, relatively easier classes, which is why I'm a little bit worried for this semester, because it's, like, all of my hard classes. But, yeah, support here at university, like, for us, there's arts advising. Arts advising, in my experience, like, I went there for course help. It wasn't that helpful for me. Like, it was, like, they Googled what I asked them, so it wasn't the most helpful experience. So it is, like, definitely a lot of, you have to be independent, you have to be figuring out things on your own, you have to be actively going after things and just, like, being really on top of it. You have to be very organized going into university, because especially, like, classes, okay, they work in this kind of weird, like, different than high school, obviously. So, like, you make your own schedule, so you could have a class at 8 a.m., you could have one at 6 p.m., you could have one, like, big chunks, little chunks, all back-to-backs, and then you have, after that, the time is up to you to, like, either study or to waste. And unfortunately, in my first semester, I did a lot of time wasting. So instead of, like, I had days where I only had 1 class, which, like, should have been my study days, but I'd be like, oh no, it's okay, like, this reading actually isn't an assignment, it's just, like, they're not gonna know. Like, I would still do the reading, but I would skim it. And then I would just to do other stuff, like to go to events, to hang out with friends, to watch TV, unfortunately, to read. And I think a lot of people had that, and, like, especially grade disappointment. Grade disappointment is crazy, because almost everyone that I talk to, they're like, yeah, this is, like, such a drop from high school, because, like, I think the saying is that your high school grades, like, subtract your average by 10%, and that's your university average. Mine was less, actually, I think, than my high school average. Less than 10%. I don't actually remember what my high school average was. Yeah. So grade disappointment is real, and it's just, like, you will get 50s on tests, you will do bad on essays. I haven't heard of anyone in any of my classes who got 100 on the essay, which would happen in high school. Like, a lot of people would get hundreds and stuff, and that would just be like, oh, normal. But it's just, like, it's definitely a different level, which is good, because high school has prepared you for that and you are ready for that level. But it just takes a lot of adjusting, and you need new study techniques. Like, for me, I definitely needed to reevaluate how I study, and that's why first semester was a bit of a challenge for me, because I had to kind of essentially relearn how I was studying, because those methods just weren't working for me. So I had to find some new ones. Also, get involved, because there's so much to do, especially if you're coming. I can't really talk on other universities, I'm sure they do, but UBC here in Vancouver, there are so many clubs, there are so many volunteer opportunities. I started volunteering at the Museum of Anthropology, which I'm really excited about. There's newspaper opportunities. There's, like, for me, there's pre-law, political science clubs. There's just so much that it's a little bit overwhelming, because, like, you don't know which one to do. But also be so aware that your time is so valuable, and you don't want to just freely give it around. You want to be aware that there's going to be a lot of studying, and that sometimes you have to say no to some things, which for me was really hard, because in high school I was able to balance all of the things I love, because I love volunteering and I love joining clubs. And it was just like, it was very hard for me at first to kind of accept that I need more time to study and do other things, because like you're doing your laundry, you're cleaning your dorm, which is like bigger than cleaning your room or your chores. You're maybe getting groceries if you don't have a meal plan. There's definitely like that aspect to it as well. Okay, I'm all done. I'm gonna go get breakfast and go to class. Today I have 4 classes and they're all back to back. It is 10 a.m. right now. I did not just wake up. I was studying before I got ready, but basically I have an 11 to 12:30 class, 12:30 to 2 p.m. and then 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. No, I have 3 classes, but it feels like 4 because they're all like, last semester I had a lot of 60-minute classes, which are 50-minute classes because you get to leave 10 minutes early. So like if your class says it goes to 12, it actually goes to 11:50, which is another pro tip because I did not know that until I started my classes. But yeah, so it feels like a lot today because I don't really get a lunch break. So what I do is when I go to the cafeteria for breakfast, I have my breakfast and then I make a bagel for myself to kind of like pack up and take with me, which you can do at the meal plan cafeterias. You're not really supposed to take anything except for fruit and pastry, and I think a bagel would fall under pastry because they also have this service called like to-go lunches, I think, where they have like pre-packed lunches that they'll give you like if your day is really busy. That you can order online, but I personally don't really like them because I ordered them a few times and I didn't like the options and they just didn't taste very good to me. I didn't finish it, so I don't want to waste food. So I just prefer to take a bagel with me, and I don't think it's really causing any harm, so I don't think it's a problem. But yeah, you're only allowed to take, I think, 1 pastry, 1 fruit, or 2 fruits or 2 pastries, something like that. You're a little bit like strict with that at the cafeteria, I've found. Okay, anyways, thanks for watching, and if you liked my video and if you're looking for more UBC content, student life, be sure to like and subscribe. Bye.